to thank Dr. Rashid for inviting me for this presentation. And I already promised him that I will become the part of his sustainability drive as long as we are here in UAE. So thank you very much, Dr. Rashid. But everybody talk about the sustainability. Let us talk about the quality also. Because what I feel as a quality professional, the sustainability and quality, they are having some blood relationship. What exact relationship? Nobody knows yet. But I can say it is quality is the father of sustainability. I think Dr. Rashid will agree for that. So we talk about the sustainability, the definition, no need of explaining it again. But sustainability or sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. We already discussed about this. We already discussed about economic, society and environmental pillars already. The sustainability is the new quality for 21st century companies. Like all the companies now, they are the big companies, they are already adopted the sustainability policies. But growing number of companies have recognized the financial, operational and strategic advantage of implementing sustainability practices, enhance focus on outstanding environmental, social and financial performance within their organizations. But there are still many businesses of all sizes that have not yet begun to incorporate sustainability steps or that have done so only sparingly. Such companies are missing out on chances to reduce business risk and improve business financial performance and strategic position. So we are not talking about here the Nokia or Toyota, we are talking about the small companies as well. So as a government initiatives, we have to initiate for sustainable development program for the small scale industries as well. The companies that are leading the way in operating the greatest business value from their sustainability program are those that recognize that for the 21st century company, sustainability is just as a mission critical as any other vital function such as quality, customer service or employee safety. The function and the practice that sustainability has the most common with is quality, and in many ways the phrase sustainability is the new quality. Captures the importance of sustainability for the company that wants to thrive in the 21st century. So quality and sustainability, they have to work hand to hand. Without quality, we cannot achieve sustainability. And without sustainability, quality doesn't have any meaning. Here are the key similarities and the reason why the wise proactive company should view sustainability as a being just as a critical to near on long-term success as a focus on quality. Both the quality and sustainability have gone through a historical and conceptual progression from passive reactivity to proactive strategic integration. The quality concept moved from nothing to scientific management to reactive inspection and pulling up defect prevention, quality control, total quality management, Six Sigma, and other quality initiatives. But both quality and sustainability are based on the continuous improvement towards the performance ideal. The bottom line for both quality and sustainability is the continuous improvement. In both quality and sustainability areas, the company is only as good as its recent performance. It can take a long time to develop a strong reputation for any company and achieve the quality and sustainability. But it takes a very small time to destroy the reputation. In both quality and sustainability impact are impacted by every function in the organization. Just as the customer perception of the quality is affected by everything including product design and development, manufacturing, interaction with marketing, sales, customer service and more. So too is sustainability impacted by every function in the organization. So in a nutshell, what we can say, the customer satisfaction, customer issues are highlighted in both areas like quality and sustainability. Customer used to accept whatever quality they got. It was the old views, and similarly used to assume that environmental and social responsibility couldn't be implemented without sacrificing quality or increasing price. Now they are increasingly demanding both and will often go elsewhere in the increasingly competitive market if they don't get quality or company responsibility they are looking for. The companies thought they couldn't focus on high quality and still make money. They now know that quality doesn't cost, it pays. It's literally the same with sustainability. So it will work hand to hand. Both impact the satisfaction. The quality implementing the organization and sustainability both will impact the satisfaction, well-being and safety of the customers, stakeholders, and environmental and social aspect of sustainability impact employees and customer health and safety. So when we implement both quality and sustainability, the QHSE requirement has to be covered. Both should not reduce or abandon in tough economic time, just as a company would never, a certainly should never consider dropping its product quality program or lowering its standards when times are tough. It should not reduce its sustainability focus or standards in difficult economic time. In fact, many companies have said that an increased focus on sustainability was a key element that helped them maintain financial resilience through the recent recession. So, with only quality we cannot survive in long run. We have to adapt the sustainability approach. Now, talking about the water quality and sustainability, water quality, sustainability and security are of interesting importance with current rate of population growth and water uses in arid and semi-arid ecosystem. We already discussed about the water system and air quality. Inter quality also, the sustainability, the term often associated with environmentally friendly practices. We will not discuss about the inter quality, we already discussed in our earlier presentations. This is the Venn diagram which we have taken from Dr. Rashid's book. So it is a social, economic and environmental aspects, but it is a sustainability, it is a variable, equitable and sustainable. This we have added in that. Human health and sustainability, human health concerns are not only at the core of the mission of sustainability, but are also a common thread connecting its three pillars, both affecting and being affected by environmental, economic, social issues. Any approach to a more sustainable lifestyle, building our product must address potential human exposure to pollutant and chemical and associated health effects. When you are adapting sustainability aspect, you have to take care of the human health. Source control and the precautionary approach, ample evidence exists that people can be harmed by many of the chemicals to which they are exposed. Eliminating the sources of these pollutants so as to significantly reduce exposure should be a primary sustainability objective. Given the vast number of different volatile organic carbon measured in indoor environment and the constant discovery of new potential harmful compound, it seems prudent to focus on reducing overall chemical exposure in addition to limiting exposure to the individual chemical known hazard. So all these factors we have to consider as far as environmental points are concerned. The precautionary approach attempts to prevent harm in the first phase rather than waiting until the pollutant is found to be hazardous and resulting public health effects are assessed. So, Green Card certification to be taken into consideration, which talk about the indoor air quality certification. Sustainability, environment and infrastructure. The UAE government want to ensure sustainable development while preserving the environment and to achieve a perfect balance between economic and social development. To do that, the UAE Vision 2021 National Agenda focus on improving the quality of air, preserving water resources, increasing the contribution of clean energy, and implementing green growth plan. Also, the national agenda highlights the importance of infrastructure and aim for the UAE to be among the best in the world in the quality of airports, roads, infrastructure, and electricity. And we can see that this initiative has already taken place, and we can see the UAE is on the top of the world. Quality and transportation infrastructure in Sharjah. Just take the simple case study when you are talking about the sustainability. Right. Now, we have taken a very small issue of the infrastructure and transportation when we talk about the sustainability. Many expatriates who work in Dubai choose to live in Sharjah and commute due to the fact that the rents in Sharjah are much cheaper than the rents in Dubai. Due to the expensive cost of the living in Dubai, many prefer living in cities nearby and traveling to Dubai for work and pleasure. Those who work in Dubai mostly have the same work timing or an hour difference maximum in the start and end their work day. So if everyone wants to get to work on time and live around the same time for work, create a traffic jam problem as the road in and around Dubai are not built to handle so much traffic at once. In the past few weeks, the traffic on this road, that is an alternative route used by the many of the to avoid the solid toll charges, is at the standstill during the morning and evening rush hour, car moving at the snail pace. The problem is mainly caused by the parents driving children to school from different parts of the city. They create a traffic jam in specific school areas that could reach the main road. This is unfortunately an everyday routine here from Dubai to Sharjah. In Dubai, rents are too much high, and even if executive employees cannot afford to live there, they have to live in Sharjah. So around 80% of the population living in Sharjah works in Dubai. Due to lack of better public transportation system, people use their cars and or companies transport for reaching their offices. Schools in Dubai also get maximum students from the Sharjah. So this initiative for how to avoid the traffic problems has already taken and discussed by the government of Sharjah. Another confusing rule here is that taxi of Sharjah can drop passengers in Dubai but cannot take passengers from Sharjah. Same is the rule for the taxis of Dubai. So people who don't have their cars are facing a great problem here. Taxi drivers don't take them actually to other cities as they have to come back empty, and most of the time it takes hours to come back due to heavy traffic. So this will also create the traffic problem. Dubai, the sharp rise in rent over the last year has been many Dubai residents moved to Sharjah, Ajman and even beyond. The migration is despite Sharjah itself witnessing a steady spurt in rental. This rise is direct result of high rent across the Sharjah Dubai, which has sparked a reverse relocation trend with the budget-sensitive tenants seeking out more affordable accommodation than Emirates. So that is making the Sharjah crowded with the people. Many of the families who have moved to Sharjah have, this we are talking about the Sharjah, the people are people to stay in Sharjah because of the rent, but that is creating the traffic problem. Sharjah aims to solve traffic woes. Sharjah residents are to be asked to take part in the survey which aims to cut traffic congestion in the Emirates and promote the use of public transport. The 2-month survey which was conducted on September 22, 2013 aims to analyze when and where people travel to. It was focused on residence areas, highways, car park, workplace, malls and bus stations. The survey was included 4,200 household interviews, which was represented 3% of the total number of households in Sharjah. The 15 minutes interview was carried out by 5 teams across a sample of households from every area in Sharjah and was included information such as the time of travel, mode of travel and start and the end location. The roadside interview also conducted and was 7 main road where drivers were asked to few questions while they are waiting in the traffic. The aim is to develop the sustainable transport master plan for the Sharjah. The announcement was made by Sharjah Transport Corporation and the Director of Public Works. The survey was held. Sharjah will determine not only the existing traffic patterns but also reflect the Emirates' need for potential development and projects. The data also help to determine transportation preferences, peak times for vehicle use and preferred route and modes of transportation. Through the survey, the STC and DPW had an opportunity to evaluate and analyze the data to find new means of reducing traffic by promoting the use of public transport in the Emirates. So such type of initiative already taken place by the government and it should continue. Sharjah Comprehensive Transportation Plan is considered a key major strategic option for Sharjah as it will be definitely contribute to develop the transportation system so as to make public transport a preference for the public, to reduce the use of private vehicles and to enhance public transport in addition to eliminating environmental pollution. This was the sentence given by His Highness Sheikh Khalid in 2013. Despite new road expansion project and bridges in Sharjah, Sheikh Khalid also added that time the plan aimed to reduce traffic by finding effective short-term solutions for congestion as well as setting up a long-term strategic plan for 2030 that will consider the economic and population growth in Sharjah. Power requirement in Sharjah. The government of Sharjah is addressing the problem of severe power shortage in the Emirates, and there will not any power problem in the Emirates by the end of UAE's nuclear plant start generating by 2017. Admitting that a power problem in the Emirates in general, the industrial areas in particular was an issue for many of the 1700 odd industrial units in the Emirates. The Sharjah government has been trying to address the problem, and this year there will be fewer customers complained about the failure last year. The social sustainability. The Emirate of Sharjah has long regarded environmental sustainability as an indispensable component of its tourism and commerce development strategy, and actively encourage all organizations to maintain a sustainable approach to the way in which they will do the business. So, initiative has already taken by the government, but we have to sustain that initiative. The social responsibility of the private sector in support human resources with the aim of strengthening the role of private sector in support and assimilation the national human resources to contribute to the reduction of unemployment and to give them the opportunity to participate in the economic process and development led by the private sector on the basis of social responsibility towards the people of the United Emirates. Sharjah aims to achieve the sustainable development. His Highness Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed bin Sultan Al Qasmi, Crown Prince and Deputy Ruler of Sharjah, states that the Emirate aim to work towards sustainable development in order to adequately serve both today's and tomorrow's generation. He emphasized on the importance of Sharjah achievement last year, which stemmed from the wise vision of His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan, and according to a report published by the Government Communication Unit, which functions under the Sharjah Media Center, the interaction of Dr. Sheikh Sultan on the direct line program, Al-Khaq Al-Mshir, contributed immensely to inducing constructive changes in the performance of Sharjah government departments and in their ties with the community. So government has already taken the initiative. So it becomes our responsibility to support that initiative. Now, the green building we already discussed. So green building concept has to be adopted in the UAE. Actually, Abu Dhabi has already started the Istidama concept. So we should also adopt this concept. LEED certification also, we have to make it mandatory for all the new buildings. Like Mr. George Ibrahim said, the health hospital of Zuleka, they have already started having the LEED certification program. So what are the new buildings are coming up with the LEED certification program implemented by the government, it will help to the sustainability. So thank you very much.
I was requested and invited here courtesy of Rashid. Thank you very much first. I think it's a great opportunity for an oil company or an oil trading company to put a perspective before we are all painted black by saying that we are all rogues. So I'll make an attempt to put across a case of an oil trading company trying to put across what exactly is our view of sustainable development. The agenda for today, what I recommend is to look at a little bit of sustainable development. I'm sure it has been talked about right through the Congress and we've spoken about in the next 1 or 2 days as well. We'd like to put across exactly our understanding of fossil fuel versus renewable energy, shale gas and fracking. I think this is the most hottest topic debated today in the world. Price of oil, why is it happening, why is it going down, why is it going up? I think it's a good idea to look at shale gas and fracking and what it's doing to us. The most important part for us is fossil fuel prices' impact on sustainable development. I think the previous speaker spoke about an economic aspect of sustainable development. One which is most important is economic. If there is no economic viability of sustainable development, it's not going to happen. We believe there is a direct link between fossil fuel prices and its impact on sustainable development. We also believe that there has to be a reasonability of price of crude oil to drive sustainable development. Sustainable development cannot be driven with a very low or a very high fossil fuel price, which is an important aspect which we will try to see how we can build a case for it. To begin with, what is sustainable development? What does it mean? How do we achieve sustainable development? Lots of definitions all put together. The one which I like, I've put it across. Development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is the one which I like. I look at a lot of them, but I think this is short, sweet and simple and conveys the message which is relevant today. The ultimate goal of adopting the sustainable development approach is to achieve social, economic progress in the ways that it does not exhaust the Earth's finite natural resources. A lot of the previous speakers have spoken about the social and environmental impact. I'll concentrate more on the economic impact and what does it connect with the fossil fuel business. Where and how can we achieve sustainable development? I think a lot of ways which we need to look at. It is given that we are behaving with our resources today, especially that those are not renewable, is not the same as previous generation. There is a theory within the oil industry, especially the upstream which we have. He's saying there is one theory which says there is a finite resources available and they will get exhausted. We have a theory that there is enough fossil fuel available, it's only that we haven't discovered enough. And that's why there's always a renewal of resources every 3 or 5 years by major oil companies and major national oil companies. The statement leads us to a question, is there only one way or many ways to achieve sustainability? Especially when we talk about renewable and non-renewable energy. Fossil fuel and renewable energy is just a diagram just to depict what we are looking at. Fuel oil, nuclear, natural gas, coal, and the other side, wind power and sun and the other aspects of renewable energy. Fossil fuel, certain definition, types of fossil fuel, I'll quickly run through it because what I would like to concentrate is on the last aspect of the connection between the two. So the fossil fuel, we go across the definition, the types of renewable, types, advantages, disadvantages, fossil fuel versus renewable energy, electricity production by 2030, what have been the volumes. Fossil fuels are hydrocarbons from remains of dead plants and animals. It's a generic term for a lot of stuff. It's for crude oil, for coal, for natural gas, and a lot of heavy oils which come across from the earth. We have a lot of types of fossil fuel, but mainly we just classify as coal, oil, and natural gas, which are the major use of fossil fuel that we use. There has also been a lot of emphasis on renewables, and I think a lot of governments worldwide have given extreme incentives to make sure that the renewables are used more and to make sure that they happen. Europe is a case in point where they've tried to do a lot of stuff on renewables. Theoretically, renewables are inexhaustible sources of supply of energy, solar, wind, and hydroelectric, and it's not derived from either fossil or nuclear fuel. We have solar energy, wind energy, water, and biomass. You see, once we look at renewables, it makes a very good copy for us to study and say that, okay, let's do solar. Recently in fact, till yesterday I was in a place called Somaliland. I'm not sure how many people have heard of Somaliland. It's not Somalia, it's Somaliland, a small breakaway country in 1991, still not recognized by many. And everybody said that we have a big problem. We are not getting oil and we are trying to move towards photovoltaic cells, trying to do all that stuff which is more in. A lot of things are being imported from China to say that let's have the solar things. Cheap goods from China, from a little bit of other places. And the breakdown of all those things in the next 3 or 6 months, I saw mounds and mounds of photovoltaic cells, batteries which have now piled up to say that the so-called renewable energy which you are going to use. The equipment which is used to harness itself has now become a problem for disposal, which was very strange for me. I had never seen something like that ever in my life. So to say that only renewables are going to be the future and they do not have any side effects is one of the case in point, a very small case in point, which I saw it live last Sunday. Well, there are a lot of advantages of fossil fuel. I think it's a main source of energy, highly combustible, easily available, low cost, easily stored, and greater economic value. Ladies and gentlemen, I just try to put a small comparison. A barrel of oil is cheaper than a barrel of Coca-Cola. Please think of it. A barrel of oil is cheaper than a barrel of Coca-Cola. We don't think twice to say, okay, let's buy a bottle of Coke or anything. But the moment the price of oil goes up and down, you say, oh, it's very expensive. You are extracting the oil, you are refining the oil, you are transporting the oil, you are distributing the oil. That is something which probably is something which is never thought of. But we are happily paying for a bottle of Coke, which is much more expensive. Well, it's not renewable. Yes, we know. It has pollution, it has price fluctuation. Renewable, sustainable, less maintenance, less pollution. I maybe give you a case in point in terms of pollution. Greater social value. It is not so cheap to harness. I think we all agree. Without government subsidy or without subsidies of large companies, we do not believe that it is a sustainable option for renewables worldwide. It needs storage, it needs indirect contribution to pollution, and it also has reliability on weather. If you don't have sunshine, what are you going to do? If you do not have enough wind, what you expected for, what are you going to do? So I think this is not so simple in terms of trying to see what it can do. And our ever increasing demand for energy, whether it's for industry, whether it is for private use, is not going to be satiated just by renewables. It's just not possible. I don't know whether you looked at the stock prices of Tesla, which makes the electric car. It has tumbled since the oil prices have gone down. It's been a serious challenge. This is just a chart which shows estimated renewable energy share of global electricity production. Just 22.1%, out of that hydro is 16.4%. Now, we know how much is the controversy on hydropower on dams. There's examples in India, there's examples in Africa, where there's displacement of people, there is cutting of forests, there is re-movement of rivers, which are changing the course of people and also environment. So what are we talking about? We're talking about 77.9 of fossil fuel and 22.1, out of that 16.4 also has some serious aspects which we believe is sustainable, but it is not. It still needs concrete, it still needs a whole lot of stuff which goes in. This is a topic which I added, which is so relevant at this point of time, I think, in the history of oil and energy today, that this is, everybody talks about. I'm not sure a lot of us even understand what we are talking about shale gas and fracking is. So I just attempted that maybe as a precursor to give you a little bit of flavor. What is shale gas? Is shale gas a renewable source of energy? So there's a lot of misnomer going across in the market. Oh, shale gas is something which is something renewable, it can come again, it can do this. And what is gas fracking? Is shale gas an alternative to renewable energy sources? Maybe, may not be. Let's see what it is. Shale gas refers to natural gas that is trapped within shale formations. Shales are fine-grained sedimentary rocks that can be rich resources of petroleum and natural gas. Sedimentary rocks are rocks formed by accumulation of sediments at the Earth's surface within the bodies of water. Common sedimentary rocks include sandstone, limestone, and shale. This is a textbook definition what shale gas is all about. These are the estimated reserves of shale gas which have come across. The commercial aspect is only out of China, US and Canada at this point of time. What is gas fracking? It's a process of drilling and injecting fluid into the ground at high pressure in order to fracture shale rock to release natural gas inside it. If I have some of my friends on the upstream, we have something called as EOR, Enhanced Oil Recovery, what we do. So this is basically injecting fluids to break those sedimentary rocks, take out the oil, take out the gas, and then getting it out of it. So it's a very simple process, but there are proponents of it and there are people who are against it who say that this is also a very harmful aspect of extracting gas. So many rich countries of shale gas are trying to develop the fracking industry as it looks promising, but fracking may be as dangerous as extracting burning fossil fuels from the environment. Fossil fuel pollutes air, fracking gas pollutes water. Ladies and gentlemen, I think there is a statement which says that the future wars will be fought not over oil or energy, it will be fought on water. Whatever resources we have of water, if we are going to be fracking, we are going to be even polluting those then. And you know how water has become more and more scarce in the whole aspects and the whole geopolitical scenario. We've seen Ethiopia trying to build a dam, Egypt is in major conflict in trying to see that they don't build that dam. These are water what's going to happen. So whatever groundwater we have, are we going to again create problems for it? What's the impact of fossil fuel on sustainable development? How high or low fossil fuel price can impact development of renewable energy sector? How can severe changes in fossil fuel prices impact other sustainable resources like biofuel? It is a direct relation. It's a direct relation. Unfortunately, there are not many voices today, either in the media or within, I would say, quote unquote, in the OPEC world, who are not making enough noises openly about it. We believe that how low and for impact high fossil price may lead to more efforts in developing renewable energy technology. If you don't have that prices, there is no economic viability to develop those resources. It makes no sense. But the high cost and the time it will take to make it efficient pushes a quick drop of fossil fuel prices. Because of the huge and prompt need of energy. Energy we need today. Yes, it is growing, but I cannot wait forever to not use it. I said, no problem, I'm building a plant, after 5 years it will be okay. So this is something which we need to think about, and I urge people who are in the sustainable development world, who are in the renewable world, to be careful when they start complaining about high oil prices. It is not a good idea. It's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt that industry. Low fossil fuel prices lead to easy access and affordability of the energy for consumers and quick development of other industries, but causes a delay in working on renewable energy projects. You're not going to get money to put it anywhere. Where is the money going to come from? Severe changes in fossil fuel impact other sustainable resources like biofuels. Biofuels are fuels that contain energy from geologically recent carbon fixation, such as plants. These fuels are produced from living organisms. A very low fuel prices can negatively impact the fuel alternatives in the same way as they impacting other renewable energy sources. Now, especially the biofuel, which is now a big view all over the world, is also going to get negatively impacted if there is a severe downfall on the price of oil. How can a reasonable fossil fuel price sustainable development? What is the average price of fossil fuel that can lead to sustainable development? Can the fossil fuel energy become sustainable? We need to maintain a reasonable price of fossil fuel, which will result in the following. Push the development of renewable energy, will make cheaper with time and can compete with fossil fuel energy. Although fossil fuel energy is not renewable, the development of renewable energies will lead to lower consumption of fossil fuel, which will allow it to present for longer time for future generations. So a good optimal price is going to secure a sustainable use of fossil fuel, because it cannot be replaced 100%. It's not possible. If renewable energy sector becomes competitive, the fossil fuel sector will be obliged to develop new technologies to become less polluting and with better advantage to regain its place in the energy sector. So it is a double whammy. Either you do this or you do that. You will have to be reasonable to do so. There's been a lot of discussion. What is the right price of oil? If you read a lot of publications and our interaction with a lot of industry, this is more about $80, $85. It's just about the right price of oil to make sure that there is sustainable growth and development in the world. Renewable energy and fossil fuel energy are highly related. Without one another, will not be efficient. Reasonable price of fossil fuel will help the development of renewable energy, which is sustainable. But the fossil fuel energy cannot be replaced fully with the renewables energy due to its seasonality and reliability of weather. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Our challenge was that we had more than 700 suppliers when I was at my previous company, and the problem was, in order to find green suppliers with certification and so on, is extremely difficult. 2 years ago, we decided to set up Green Emirates. We have two main platforms. One is a directory. It's a business-to-business directory where we are covering a lot of these segments. Energy efficiency reduction. This morning, the Green Building Council in the Emirates launched their database for energy efficiency companies, water efficiency and reduction, waste and recycling, solar, and other renewable energy. I would respectfully disagree with the previous speaker. Actually, there is a lot of very commercially viable renewable energy. And if you see the latest bids by Aqua Power and Al Mojil Group for the, sorry, I think it's Abdul Latif Jamil Group from Saudi Arabia for the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid solar park, they are the record lowest in the whole world. It's actually a lot cheaper now to produce power from solar than from gas. So this is also partly the reason for our director is also to share a lot of this information so that people can tap into it. Whether you're interested in solar, whether you're interested in a green building, whether you're interested to retrofit, and so on. Green transport and logistics, that was touched a little bit, but again, with green transport, we have a lot of people driving, a single person driving a car from Dubai to Sharjah and vice versa every day. Some of these cars have 4, 5, 6 liter engines. There isn't much information about electric cars, whether they work, whether they don't, what is the benefit for companies to reduce the size of engines that, you know, when they're procuring fleet and so on. So a lot of these things are being touched by our directorate. Corporate social responsibility has been very active for almost 10 years now. Ms. Habib Al-Marashi, who runs Emirates Environmental Group, also runs the CSR Arabia Network. Dubai Chamber has a very active CSR label, but Dubai Chamber, for example, has 53 members of the CSR label. They have 160,000 companies licensed by Dubai Chamber. So you can imagine the immensity of the problem of getting 160,000 companies to start moving to a sustainable green way. And green supplies and procurement. A lot of companies want to go green, but they again find it very difficult. So part of the service we provide is also, you come to us, you have a project, give us a list of the products you need, and we will extract suggestions of 2 or 3 green suppliers for each one of those elements. And we're also trying to promote training. We are very fragmented in the UAE. I mean, like the States, we are 7 independent emirates, but even within each emirate, we found as we started mapping who is involved in sustainability, who has responsibility directly or indirectly, you find a lot of different entities. So for example, with energy, you have the ministries, you have the electricity and water authorities. Each emirate has electricity and water authority, except some of the smaller ones where FIWA is covering. You have supervisory boards that were created by Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Initially, their job was to reduce demand, so demand side management. But it has reached a point where the subsidies have to start going because the government is subsidizing 100% of everyone. And His Excellency, the Minister of Energy, was quoted on the radio yesterday saying a billionaire is getting the same subsidy as somebody who doesn't have a proper income. So this is not very sustainable in the long term. And especially now that the revenues of the government have dropped drastically due to the reduction in the oil price, we have to look at subsidies very, very carefully and find new mechanisms to be more flexible with gasoline, with transport and so on for the lower income groups. Dubai Carbon Center also has a number of programs. For example, the Green Jobs. They have mapped out all of the targets by the federal government, by the different ministries, by Sheikh Mohammed's plan for Dubai 2020. All of these actually encompass a lot of environmental sustainability, energy professionals, and the problem is we don't have them right now. There's a huge opportunity for mechanical, electrical specialists to move into energy efficiency. A number of these disciplines are slowly feeding through retraining, through the universities here and so on. And Dubai Carbon Center has done an excellent job. They have an event tomorrow in Dubai, which builds on that platform, their online platform. They have workshops and so on, and it's federal, so that all of the Emirates can benefit. Masdar City, everybody's aware of. Unfortunately, due to the economic crisis, they had to scale back the development. Not many multinational companies who wanted to go there at the time managed to go there. So now there is version 2.0 as they call it. Masdar has actually been very successful in implementing renewable and sustainable power projects through the Federal Development Fund, which has disbursed more than 27 billion dirhams in the last 3 years. 85% of that has been linked to projects. So the money is not just donated to Egypt, to Morocco, to other places. It's actually linked to projects which will provide power and so on across these areas. So you can see there's a lot of government entities that are touching at different touch points and so on. Dubai has been quite successful because they created the Supreme Energy Council, and under its umbrella they have brought in several big entities like the RTA with the transport, ENOC with the oil and fuel distribution, and obviously the electricity and water, Etihad, ESCO, and so on. But you can see a lot of this information you would need to individually go to each one of these organizations. Some of it is not even on their website. So the idea is we want to bring all of that onto one platform. The standards, even in the UAE, we have STDAMA. Pearl rating has progressively become mandatory in Abu Dhabi, but it's not applicable in Dubai. In Dubai, we have two municipalities. One is the Dubai municipality, and then Trahis, which controls the facilities for Jebel Ali Free Zone, is also responsible for a number of the Nakil projects, the Palm Island, JLT, and so on. So you can imagine implementing different standards. The Trahis implemented LEED building standards since 2007. STDAMA came in later, and this year the Dubai municipality instituted the Green Building Standard. Green Building Standard is mandatory. STDAMA, you have Pearl 1 through to Pearl 5, which is quite tough to achieve. So there are different versions. ISO 14000 has been prevalent with oil and gas companies, but is now becoming also quite widely used with a lot of other organizations. 50001 is just now starting to take hold. Dubal has part of their operation is running with that. There is an organization in Ras Al Khaimah that is also, but it's slowly catching